Okay, so before I jump into this really quickly here, I just want to um, mention a couple things. So one is the design. The design looks pretty old. Um, based on all the new software technologies and everything, landing page technologies, um, even the most budget operations can actually look pretty polished and professional. So when you have something like this, and then when you're trying to position yourself as a guru or a successful person, this can detract from that positioning that you're trying to build. A couple things when you're going through it that you can consider, which I don't think that you're actually making any sort of mistakes with this necessarily, but just something to be cognizant of, is your market awareness and sophistication. So, how sophisticated is the BlackJack market for selling information products? Is it really sophisticated? Are they making bold claims like make $9,733 in 24 hours at any table, or is it really simple? Is it more just um, how to win at blackjack or something really basic? So those are things to take into consideration. Um, and then the other side of it too is the seven. Sorry, I didn't touch on to the market awareness. So market awareness would be like you always have different levels of market awareness. You have someone like myself who doesn't really know very much about blackjack, so you can market to me. The only thing about marketing to someone like myself is you'd have to start to use more layman terms. You couldn't use um, technicals like that's gibberish to me, for example. But I think it's on point with who you are trying to use as your target market. People that are struggling to get traction with blackjack. They're starting to get burnt out on all the crap offers and charlatans in the marketplace. But just when you're starting with this, and you have to be aware that it stays cohesive throughout the entire sales letter, which I think you've done a good job of. I'm just, things to be aware of that a lot of people do make mistakes with. And then the other side of it too is the seven deadly sins. Using the seven deadly sins for your marketing, which can be really beneficial. And the reason for that is you could have um, you got greed, sloth, lust, pride, wrath, gluttony, and envy. For example, this one I think would be big with greed, the desire for more, obviously, but then also as a supplementary um, sin, you've got pride that I think would be big would because of desire for superiority. So you'd really kind of paint that picture of being that guy who has a stack of chips in front of them at the table, just killing it. Everybody's watching, everybody's amazed by how good of a job he's doing, and that could even be um, more or less like a story of you or a story of your apprentices that you've seen go on to be very successful with your teachings. Okay, so getting right into it, the headline, I like this area, like this is a good angle, but it doesn't belong to the headline. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to pop this down lower into a later part of the letter, which we'll get into. You want your headline to be benefit oriented. So, for example, here a couple quick ones off the top of my head. How this ex-school teacher cracked the code to blackjack and beats the dealer 87% of the time. So the 87% of the time isn't necessarily, obviously that's not a real number, I just made that up. But if you could kind of calculate a number on how successful your system is, it would make it that much more powerful because then it's not just some pie in the sky number. You've pulled it in and it works. 87% of the time, you know that it works out well. It's, for example, if you heard someone say a system works 90% of the time, and they said 93% of the time, which one sounds better to you, right? And then underneath that, you would say, without counting cards, insert something else, insert something else. So, well-known systems they have failed with. So right away, you're separating yourself from what other people have had bad experiences with. So counting cards, or I like the word that you use there down there, or any other mental gymnastics, for example. So try and come up with three. I'm sure that should probably be pretty easy for you. An alternative would be simple system shows you how to beat the blackjack dealer 87% of the time, even if you have a horrible memory, poor math skills, or something else that would be an objection that they have about themselves when they read that. They go, yeah, well, I can't do it because, I can't put two and two together. So that's what I would do there. And then in the opening, you're kind of commiserating early on, but what you want to use in the early part is you want to start to talk about how you're the authority. So what sort of things can you say that you've done that would they should listen to you? Like what accomplishments have you achieved? How long you've been doing it? Um, Is it all you do for a living? What lifestyle have you achieved as a result of, mastering blackjack? I noticed that you mentioned that you have a coaching apprentice, a client. Mention that again because that positions you as an authority. If people are paying you money to actually physically coach them, which obviously isn't cheap, then you're somebody who's worth listening to on the subject of blackjack. Um, this picture is actually in the perfect spot. What you'd want is something that again portrays more authority. So are you, um, is there a picture of you in front of with a stack of chips in front of you, playing at a blackjack table, just killing it, or is there, what's another, winning a tournament, for example, or a big check, or whatever it may be, speaking to a group of people, anything that positions you as authority. That's what you're going to do here. You're going to hook them in, and then later on, you're going to start to go into commiserating with them. So you want to, with commiseration, which is what you're doing here, really, is you're painting your past to be exactly like their present. Because if your past is like their present and you're where they want to be, then you're the one who can get them to where they want to be. You know exactly where they want to go. So you want to make sure it's as detailed as possible as to what you see your current target market struggling with. So one thing that I noticed here, sure, I had some big winning days when I celebrated, blah, 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 blah. That's a great line. Is that what they're experiencing? Are they having big winning days when they go out, or are they struggling to get the courage up to even go out to a blackjack table because they're scared of what everyone will think of them and they're not good enough and all these sorts of things? Again, it all depends on the market that you're targeting. Because if you had big winning days back when you sucked, why would they think that you're not the person, you're more advanced than they ever were? So that's just an example. Again, if they're out there, they're having great days, and then all of a sudden they have bad days, then yeah, that's a perfect line. And then what you want to do is you want to start to pivot into the problems that you're having. So, example would be I used to spend hours at a table amassing a pretty good stack of chips, only to be wiped out by a few bad hands. I imagine that would be something that people experience. So those sorts of things. So problems, physical problems that they actually had. So your commiseration is more emotional, that sort of thing. Problems are, real problems that you had, buying course after course after course, trying to find the answer, and you just couldn't find it. And it was so frustrating. You were lost, despair, all these sorts of things, right? Um, okay, and then we're going to pivot. So you have a good line down here that pivots. So one night I was lying in bed, blah, blah, blah. That's perfect. So the only thing that I would change on this is if you kind of change into the fact that maybe it happened a little bit more by luck because you want to make them feel like they can do it. That you don't want to make it sound like you're some savant that kind of crack the code in your while you're just lying in bed relaxing, right? Like you're this genius person. More of it is could they have come up with it themselves if given enough time? You've just given them the shortcut. You haven't. It's just a really simple system that anybody can use, sort of idea. You don't want it to feel like it's above them. Um, So going through it, honestly, the copy is good. It's just kind of the where it is. You could have a different flow to it that I think would make it better. Also, these kind of interjections here, I kind of realized were subheads. I thought they were more like just fun facts that were optional reading. But I think if you structured them more just as a piece of the letter, they'll get read more. A good way to think of subheads is as you're scrolling through, is that the person is becoming increasingly uninterested, and then your subhead is to suck them back into the copy. Like they can't look away. You need to read it again, and they're just kind of scanning through the page. Something to consider. Okay, so then you want to start to go in and talk about why does your product work better. It's considered cheating, thinking, plan to think again. So these are problems. I've seen other simpler blackjack systems that use, and why are these strategies any better? So let's see here. So you show that 80% of black are choppy. That is, so you're really painting the problems here for sure. If you flip a coin several times, streaks. One night I was lying in bed. What I would start to do is I'd start to pull in more bullets, like start to condense it a little bit and try and get the same amount or more punch in your bullets as you are in these long kind of paragraphs that you have going on. Um, Not to say that long copy doesn't work. Obviously, it does. It's just more of a matter of you know, you want to get across the most punch in the least words possible. So again, what I do is feature and benefits that you have of what makes your product work better, and a good way to do that would be the so what practice. So list out the features of your product, and then say so what to each one. So simple counting method. So what? Well, you won't lose money and make a bad play. So those sorts of things. So 3 to 7 bullets would be good to kind of sum up why your product is better, and then you want to pivot into some proof. So if you have any sort of proof elements like screenshots of like your BlackJack online BlackJack accounts showing the increase, how much money you've made, sorts of things that you're not just making this up. And then any testimonials that people have had working with you, like it doesn't maybe seem like you've sold that many products because you only had the one testimonial later on. But you can start to leverage, you have those coaching clients and what experiences they had, what testimonials can they give you. Ever since hiring you, they went from losing tens of thousands of dollars to being in the black within 2 weeks, for example. Um, and then in this area, my brainchild, okay, so it is clear. So this is good. He netted over 100K. So I like that. I would use that as a subhead. My friend netted over 150K using this system in just 1 week. Sure, we lost hands, but we came out consistently. My brainchild. So features and let's see here. My brainchild is most consistent process system. I was 2. I spent years developing and perfecting this unique approach, winning consistently at 21. Not stumbled upon this by chance. Meticulously. Played blackjack before, you probably managed to make temporary winnings. I was there, but no longer. The other day I was coaching an apprentice at a $10 table. So what's so much better about? Okay, so that's all good. What I would redo these bullet points though when I was reading through them. Again, just using the so what test. So what features and benefits does the product have, right? After you've introduced it, I think that that would be the best way because there are only a few rules to follow in the system, so you don't have to wear yourself out by concentrating. Like just tightening that up more would be a benefit. Um, and then start once you've introduced the product, you want to start to kind of increase the tension on how much they want it and how high the value of the product itself is. So um, tell them, okay, the value is really high, the price is going to be way lower than usual, and then start anchoring that against other things like courses with half this content have sold for double or even triple the price. How much of your education, I've spent X amount of dollars amassing this real world experience of playing at tables, winning and losing, so you don't have to. Again, kind of um, solidifying that this is the shortcut. This is the only path for them to find success as quickly as possible because nobody wants to sit around and take the lumps to get there, right? Um, and then, so I'm just reading notes that I took before making this video. I like these bullet points. Protect your bankroll. That's good. And then there's a bit of disjointedness here, um, down here. But just on this one, I thought maybe something more like what casinos don't want you to know and traps exposed. Something more that makes the casino sound more evil, like what evil psychological tricks casinos are using to empty your wallet, something like that. And then maybe just quick bullet points of those, like pumping oxygen into the air to keep you playing longer. Like break this copy up, for example. You can write an entire sales letter based just purely on bullets. So don't think that you're overdoing bullets. As long as they're good, you're fine. And then I thought this was disjointed. Like, does that tie into this area up here? If not, then you should drop another subhead in here to kind of break that copy up. All these and many more answered. And then what I would do Means you keep introducing the product. What I would do is I'd start to pull, because you have bonuses down here, right? I would pull those bonuses up higher than that. Yeah, just seeing what I did here. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I'd pull the bonuses up higher. And then once you get down below the bonuses, so you pull the bonuses up, and then you're going to say, here's what you'll get. So then in this section, then you're going to start to reiterate what they're getting, and then putting a dollar value to each of those. So you're getting my easy blackjack system valued at whatever, right? Try and find a real number that they're valued at, but valued at this, or told to sell for this, or whatever it is. Basic strategy cards. What's the value of this? What's the value of this? And then put them all into here because you've already you've already introduced them higher up in the copy, and then down in this area here is where you're going to start to say, this is dollar value. Add them all up in front of them, so they're like, holy crap, this is going to be super expensive. And then as you go through, yeah, so then as you go through, then you're going to hit them and you're going to say, all of this and more, plus will give you access to, yeah, and then so introduce your price. And then after that, what you'd want to do is you'd want to drop in um, that there's a 100% guarantee. Your purchase is 100% protected. So drop that down below, right? And then the testimonial down in this area is a good spot for it, right? And start to get them back into it, taking the risk away from them. And then again, kind of reiterate what they're going to get and say, you've signed off here. That's perfect. And then your PS, I truly want you to win, so I offer it to you right now at the rock bottom internet price. Remember, all this risk is on me and all the benefits on you. If it turns out you don't like, simply contact me and I'll promptly refund you in full. You pay only if you absolutely love it. I don't want any unhappy customers, but hurry to me. Which one is more valuable to you? Run out battery here. Heck, you're probably thrown away out of a single hand or winning more. I'm sure the answer is the latter. Get more easy money. Yeah, I think that's good. Hopefully that's a benefit. Honestly, I think if you're losing any sort of, if your conversion, which I'd be curious to know what your conversion rates are. I think it all happens up here because once you kind of hit the middle of the letter, then you start to get your stride. But you're failing to get the scarcity up here, and then maybe commiserating a bit more, maybe understanding where your market is a bit more. And I think it should be a fairly good performing letter. You seem to understand the problems and stresses that they've had in the past. So yeah, hope that helps.